I just did. That's the thing.
We ask that you cheer for your team and be respectful of the opponent. As Division II athletes, we support a diverse and inclusive environment, and we commit to fair play, responsibility, and respect. We invite you to support our effort. Go Mavs!
And at this time, our flag, our country, and the recognition of those who serve and protect it. We ask everyone please rise and we all have our turn your attention to the stars and stripes for the singing of our national anthem.
Minnesota State University, Mankato. Today's afternoon matchup is the Sioux Falls versus Minnesota State. Sioux Falls comes in with a record of 8-6, as Minnesota State has the better of the record, but they both come in with a conference record of 3-3. Minnesota State played in Bresnan Arena last night versus the number 10 team in Division II, Southwest Minnesota State. Minnesota State came in here with aspirations to take down the number 10 team in the nation, as it looked pretty hopeful for them, winning that first set, but then dropping the next three to losing the match. As we're getting ready here for today's afternoon game, as the referees are getting set, and Minnesota State here comes out with the ball. And there it is. The opening point goes to Sioux Falls by Bria Barfnet. And the block resulting into a point for Sioux Falls. But it goes out of bounds to the left and point Mavericks. And the set, and the look. And the changeup from Sheeman. And then the attempted block was wide and tipped out, which will result in the point for Sioux Falls. And Springer's back to serve. Cassandra Springer is a 5'10" junior out of Altoona, Wisconsin. And the attempted block by Barfnet is a mute point, as it's all tied up again at 2 apiece. And Quam is back to serve for the Mavericks. And it's in. And that is a point for Rockman. Barfnick. And the attempted kill. And there it is, tipped, kept alive by MSU. And Sheeman just gives it over the net to keep it alive. And a diving stop, and another diving stop, but comes up short. Minnesota State goes down 2 here early in this first set. As Barfnick back again. Barfnick is a 5'10" senior out of Delano, Minnesota. Kept alive by Quam as they retreated back to Sioux Falls. And looking for a tip, but no. And that point goes to Minnesota State. As Lauren Lowry and Dana Schnidler come into play. Lowry with the serve. Kept alive by Quam. The freshman tries to get it past, but kept alive. Goes over the net, hits the net, and diving stop attempted by Garby, but that just goes off her arm and out of bounds. Rockman, the 6-foot senior from Broomfield, Colorado. And Barfnick cannot keep that alive. And Minnesota State goes down 1 yet again. Coming in for Sioux Falls is number 6, Anna Peterson, the 5'2" senior from Tracy, Minnesota. As it's a soft serve over the net, kept alive as they keep going to Jakic. And as that soft thing fools Barfnick, and it hits it under the net. Tie game. 5-all here as Sheeman goes back to serve again. And another soft serve from Sheeman. Sit up, kept alive. Quam hits it over. And there it is. Lexi Scott with the kill. As Scott, just getting the point, is back to serve. Kept alive and hit, and still kept alive by Sioux Falls. And the block by Minnesota State. And a block again. And that block is by Anissa Jancic, the 6-foot junior out of Wells, Minnesota. As Guam goes to the bench, coming in is number 23, Ashton Lee. And Minnesota State here is looking for their first lead of this set, and that won't come on this play as number 17, Abby Fireessen, decides otherwise. Krista Greger.
Okay, and I hear you.
Schindler tries to change up, but ultimately that fails.
Sorry about that.
Quam keeping it alive as she's back in the game. And a little too early of a jump for Lee, and that results in a point as MSU goes down 2. As Barfnick comes back into the ball game for Sioux Falls.
Yes.
A set and a kill by Garby, and that puts Minnesota State back in some action here.
Okay.
As number 12 Porter comes back in the game, and she's back to serve. Minnesota State in purple and gold lettering, as Sioux Falls is in black trim but white jersey and black lettering. Kept alive by Quam as it's hit and by Garby, and it's a tie match. Porter looking around, bouncing the ball a little bit as she gets ready to serve. And Barfnick, as the attempted block by Garby is missed and goes out of bounds. Results in a point for Sioux Falls as they regain the lead. Number 9, Jakic, serves, and that's a point. Sioux Falls comes in here led by head coach Joel McCartney in his 8th season with the Cougars. And a point for MSU
Zoom in a little bit.
allows Garby to go back and serve. And back to Sioux Falls here is, as a team this season, the Cougars total of 14 kills in comparison to the opponent's 12.2 per set, as MSU gets another point to tie the match. Sioux Falls posts a 13.2 assists per set and around 14 digs per set. They are led by the senior Barfnick, leads a balanced attack with 163 kills, while senior Lexi Scott is second with 41. Sophomore Kristen Grigger is the leading setter for the Cougars with 514 assists. Junior Cassandra Springer leads Sioux Falls in digs with 64 on the season. Looking back at the Mavericks right now, the Impact Mavericks are Morgan Olson leads the Mavericks with a team best 213 kills and a .391 attacking percentage. Mara Quam has compiled 224 digs to begin this year, while Michaela Porter leads the team in assists with 313. by the numbers as a seasoned Minnesota State has posted 16.6 kills per set in comparing and holding opponents to 11.1. As that ball goes untouched out of the back, and that results in a point for MSU as Quam is back to serve. And the seemingly young talent for MSU as they can only seem to grow here, as they are led by the freshman class contributing to 136 digs, 271 assists, 71 kills, and 31 blocks. Freshman Laura Lowry is second on the team with assists with 205, and Dana Schlinder is fourth on the team with 55 kills. As Barfnick is back to serve. Set by Porter, and that comes up short as it's a kill for Morgan Olson, the 5'11 junior out of Annandale, Minnesota.
Okay, so we're back a little more.
Lowry, the freshman, the 5'7 out of Castle Rock, Colorado. Set by Gregor. Kept alive by MSU. Garby tries to hit over the net, and that's blocked. And dug out. Kept alive. Jakic tries to keep it going. And this is a rally here, ladies and gentlemen. Quam keeps it alive. As it's hitting the net by the junior Sheeman. As these first four sets are to 25 points. If a fifth set is needed, it only goes to 15. And there it is. And it goes out of bounds off the deflection of Barknick. And Springer tries to keep it alive with a dive, but unfortunately, it's too far out of bounds for her to keep it alive. As Sheeman is back to serve. Jakic blocked by Schindler. Quam tries to keep it alive, goes out of bounds, tries to keep it in play, and that results in a point for Sioux Falls. As Sakowicz, the freshman from Illinois, comes into the game for MSU. And that serve is right into the net by Scott, and she's immediately replaced by Springer. And Janzig is back to serve for MSU. And stuffed but kept alive by MSU as Janzig keeps it alive and over the net. And Garby with the kill. As Garby here is trying to lead a surge here for the Mavericks as she's getting her team on the board. It's tied up again at 15 apiece. The 6-foot junior is back, and that is a long. As this just is a back and forth first set as these teams are well evenly matched as shown by their record. As I mentioned to you before, they both come in at the same conference record in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference as they both share a 3-3 record. And that's dive kept alive by Lowry and number 9 Jakic. Lowry with the set. Garby tried to kill, blocked. Schindler keeps it alive, and Springer, the junior from Altoona, cannot keep it alive. As both freshmen for the Mavericks decide to come out. Porter back to serve. She was close to that ace, but still kept alive. And hits over, and point. Out of bounds on the left side. Sioux Falls gets the serve. as Jakic serves, and Garby tries to attempt to hit it, but that's a loop point. As Sioux Falls gets the serve back, up 2, and MSU takes a timeout. So far, Coach McCarthy for Sioux Falls is pretty pleased with what he's seen out of his ladies so far here in black and white. As we look at inter-conference games, and so far, Minnesota State Moorhead is taking on St. Cloud State as it's still in the first set. University of Mary and Minnesota Crookston are still in the first set, along with Augustana and Upper Iowa University. Games that is in the pregame is Southwest Minnesota State. They are in St. Paul taking on Concordia. And games that take place later on tomorrow is Northern State versus Minnesota Duluth. Minot State takes on Bemidji State in Bemidji. Action as Jakic is back for Sioux Falls. Dug out by number 3, Sakowicz, but hits over the net, and she can't get back up in time. As Sioux Falls gains their biggest lead so far here in the first set. Porter. And that's hit out of bounds. And Fire Essen is fired up. Jakic serve. Porter to Garby as it goes straight up into the rafters but comes down out of bounds. And that results in a point for MSU. Coming back into the game is Sheeman. And that tip by Rockman is out of bounds on the left side, and that puts the Mavericks within 2. Dug up by Rockman. As Barfnick looks to kill it, but that's blocked. And that results in a point for MSU as they come back within 1. And that's a timeout, Sioux Falls, as the momentum swings in. As we take a look at other Minnesota State teams that are playing so far at halftime, Minnesota State's football team is down 21-7 to Winona State University. As we knew this would be a tough test for their football team, but it seems like Winona State's giving all that they can handle and resulting in a 21-7 halftime lead. As the Minnesota State's coaching staff has got to like what they've been seeing, as Minnesota State has battled back here a little bit in this first set and allowed them to breathe a little easier. As Minnesota State's back on the court and they blow the whistle to break up the huddle for Sioux Falls. Garby continues to serve. As Springer keeps it alive. And there it is for Barfnick to kill. As Garby tries to save it, but comes up short. And Springer is back to serve. And that is long. As Quam and Garby both look at each other and communicate well. Quam is back to serve. As it comes in net, and Gregor ends up hitting the net on trying to set it up for Rockman or Jakic. This game's tied at 21. And that is wide left as Sioux Falls takes an late lead, actually, here in the first set. Minnesota State will battle back, and that is in. And the Sioux Falls coaching staff is not a particularly fan of that call. As Coach McCarthy is having words of discussion and trying to figure out what happened. As that was in, and it stands at 22 all here late in this first set. And the set, and that is in. And that was a nice use by Scott for that little bit of Lowry. And Sheeman trying to connect. Quam, Lowry, Schindler tried to block, but that is down. And that's a point for Minnesota State. As it's 23 all, and you got to win by 2 to win a set. So let's see what Sheeman has in her back pocket as she's back to serve. And Sheeman keeps it alive. And that is in for Sioux Falls as they gain a 1-point lead here very late in this first set. But they look to get this first set from Minnesota State. First time that she's entered the game, Megan Hampstead, the senior out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. As she looks to win the match, or the set here for Sioux Falls. The set by Garby, tries a little trickery, but that comes up short by the diving stop. And Garby kills it. As she ties the game up for the Mavs as they look to take advantage of this. And as you may see behind the server, we got a little bit of a roll of a mini student section. And that is out and long. Minnesota State takes the lead, 25-24. And let's see if Janzek can put this away and win the set for the Mavericks. Lowry with the set. Garby, and that's down. Minnesota State wins that first set as they take that first set from Sioux Falls, as Sioux Falls had the lead for the majority of the set, but Minnesota State's resilience powers them through and gets them that first set victory. As we take here a short 3-minute break, and we'll be back in about a minute and a half with the first set stats. gentlemen, welcome back as the total kills for Sioux Falls. Rockman and Scott are leading the team with 5, and Barfnick is close behind with 3, as Olivia Garby is leading the way from Minnesota State with 7, and Olson's 3 behind with 4. And as that opening set point goes in favor of the Cougars. And that is hit by Garvey, and that is her 8th kill of the game. In 12 attempts, she is hitting 75% of her kills. And that is missed by the redshirt junior from Minneapolis, Fire Essen. As Coach Rittenhouse Woolmuth is doing a little coaching on the sidelines. And that serve from Garby is low and can't be corralled by Sioux Falls, as Minnesota State continues this momentum as they gained from late in that first set. And Miss says, I don't want none of that. And she kills it, literally. And it's 3-2. Quam. And tipped. And that is Olson, as Quam drops back for her first serve in this second set. As Michaela Porter tries to keep it alive, but goes off her hand, and that results in a point for Sioux Falls. As Springer is back to serve. Garby keeps it. And there we go. Olson again. She's come alive here in this second set, as she will be replaced by the freshman Lowry. And Porter will go out and would be replaced by Schindler. Lowry's back to serve as she just entered this set. And Barfnick kept alive by Lowry. Quam just is going to hit it over the net. And that is blocked and results in a point for Sioux Falls, as Scott and Barfnick were in on that block. Quam keeps it alive. Lowry to Olson. Garby kept alive by Springer. And Scott keeps it alive for Sioux Falls, as Schindler, along with Janzig, are in on that. And they combine with the block and the point, as the pair of 6-footers push the Mavericks out to a 2-point lead. Sheeman. And a dive by Gregory to keep it alive. And a kill by Schindler. As Schindler gets her name on the kills list. And there it is. It's in, killed by Scott. As they try to switch momentum and throw it back on the side of the Cougars. Blocked, trying to keep alive by Sheeman, and that is no good. As that just goes straight to the ground, and Sioux Falls pulls within one. As Rockman, the 6-footer, is back. And Schindler, kept alive by Sioux Falls. Garby with the touch. And that is given to a point for Minnesota State. As she tries a little finesse on that ball, and it ends up working out in her favor. As Sioux Falls was tricked, and that will send Janzig back to serve. And hit wide as Borger tries to go down. And Garby tries to do it again, but nothing there as it goes into the net from Sioux Falls. And that results in a point and going up 3. Anissa Janzig, a junior out of Wells, Minnesota. And there's Garby right at the net. And she says, "No, ma'am. I will have none of that." Springer, Scott, Yanich. Garby, look for her 3rd point in a row. And yet again, and she goes long as it's a diving save. And Springer's pass, try to go for Yanjic, goes into the referee. And Coach McCarthy says, "I want to sit down and talk about this." Coach McCarthy is not liking, I assume, what he's seeing from his ladies in white, as it's pretty much reversed on the side of the gold and purple. As we sit here and look at the other games going on, as Upper Iowa takes a 1-0 set lead on Augustana. St. Cloud 1-0 over Moorhead. And Minnesota State, or University of Minnesota Crookston, is on top of University of Mary in that second set, but they lead it 1-0. As we're sitting here, it seems like Mavericks want to rebuild of what they had the first set of last night's game against Southwest Minnesota State, as they really wanted that one, but nothing to show for it. As they are here and showing, hey, we want to be one of the top teams, and look at this young freshman, as Schindler and Lowry have came in here and have provided a positive vibe here for Minnesota State. Janzig, wide right, but saved. And that's it. And that's in, I guess. As Janzig sits down and comes back in. Miss Scott, Lowry, Garby blocked. Garby tries with the touch again, fools Scott, but somehow keeps it alive. And a dive by Quam is no good. As Jakic puts another one up on the board here for the Cougars. As Miss Scott looks around for a ball, she finds one from the ball girl. What a surprise. Garby, Schindler, and that is a net violation. Point Mavericks. As Porter and Olsen come back into the game, and the freshmen, both of them have a seat. Porter enters the game and comes back in to serve. And as Olsen and her partner Lee try to block it, but it goes right through him and out of bounds on the left side. Gorger back to serve. And there it is by Barfnick. As the Cougars pull within 2. And out. As Minnesota State thought they had it, but a little long. As Sioux Falls looks to tie it up and look for the first tie of this second set. And a soft lob serve from Gregor. Diving kept alive, but it results in nothing. And as the momentum has swung in Sioux Falls' way, and Coach Rittenhouse Wolmuth decides to say, hey, let's sit down and talk about this. We're going to cool them off. As we look at the Minnesota State football team is in action as they come out here, and they got the ball to receive the second half and are within 8. So they are down 21-13 in Winona. Hopefully we can see something happen there. As in action in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Sioux Falls and Augustana are playing one another. And I gotta tell you, the Sioux Falls football team is looking pretty good as they're up 27 on Augustana. As if you remember earlier, Augustana gave Minnesota State quite the scare, as Minnesota State only beat them by a 2-point margin, as the extra point for Minnesota State is good and allows them to go down by 7. As Sioux Falls here takes their first lead of this second set, and that smile by Abby Fireessen is quite big. And Fireessen and Barfnick are right there in the middle again. As you can just see in this second set, as something after that timeout by Coach McCarthy, it just seemed like the momentum just did a turn, and that's a veteran move by the 8-year coach. As it's off a Sioux Falls player and goes out of bounds, and that 2-point lead shrinks to 1. Garber, a diving stop, somehow goes over the net. And Olsen attempts, blocked by Yankic. And as she goes back to serve and puts her team up by 2 again. As there was a little bit of a confusion there. Barfnick says, yes, ma'am, may I have another? As she kills it and puts her team up 3. And Olsen says, I see you, and I raise you. As Quam goes back and looking to swing momentum here in favor of Minnesota State. Kept alive by Sheeman and hit long by Olsen. As Miss Lexi Scott comes into the game for Fire Essen. Springer back to serve. And that is long. Pretty line drive serve as the freshmen for Minnesota State are coming back into the game. Lowry and Schindler. And Lowry immediately back to serve. As we look at the hitting percentage, Lexi Scott is leading for Sioux Falls with a 40 hitting percentage. And an out there results in a point here. For Sioux Falls. As Barfnick. And there it is. We've seen that a lot from Minnesota State today as they come up showing like she's going to absolutely kill it, and she fools them. Complete and utter baffling Sioux Falls. As she drops to a knee and tries to get it, well, that results in nothing but a point for MSU as they pull within one. Barfnick gives it a shot. She almost comes up successful, but nothing to show. And with authority from Rockman, the senior. As Schindler and Janzig were tried in there on the stop. As Garvey tries to give it a shot. And so does Scott. But Scott jumps a little early, and that ball falls. Janzik back again. Janzik keeps it alive. Garvey decides to do a little touch. And boom! As that results in a point for Sioux Falls. Scott moving right to left, trying to decide what side she's going to serve. Dug out by Garvey. Sliding stop by Lowry. And the miscommunication by MSU as there were three Mavericks within the vicinity to get the ball, but no communication. And Minnesota State uses their second timeout of this second set. As Sioux Falls comes up 3 points and has continued to hold the lead. As we look at the digs here, it is very heavily favored as Minnesota State has tried to do a lot of trouble here as Quam is leading the team with 8. Lowry, the freshman, with 6. And the senior, the junior, Sheeman, out of Des Moines, Iowa, is with 4. Springer, Yakic, and Barfnick both have 3 for the Cougars. As we come here to the points, Olivia Garvey with 14, Olsen with 7, and Sheeman 5.5. As Yakic, Barfnick, and Scott are all having themselves a day here in these first 2 sets. Garvey, boom! Point, Minnesota State. as the Mavericks here come up with 2 big points out of the timeout. And it's a tie ball game. As the referee says that was in. Cougars go up 1. As that resolves in a point. And that's another one. As the Cougars drop back to try to even this match, as they try to go up and tie this match. Garby says, hold up, wait a minute. We ain't finished here, and we want to keep going. And there it is, an ace for Garby. As a diving stop comes up empty, and they pull within 1. And Coach McCartney says, hang on. We're going to sit down and talk about this, as we are 1 point away from winning this set. And we're back in action. Garby kept alive by Quam. Is that she could have maybe let that one go. Scott tries it, and she's successful. As Sioux Falls wins that second set. And in between this set, we will have a 5-minute break. As I will be back in about 4 minutes with the stats from each team. Springer, Jakic with the block by Janzig. Quam to Garby. Fireson with the block again, and that results in a point here for Sioux Falls. And those of you who are just joining us here on MBN, it is tied here at the start of the third set. Springer back to serve. Kept alive by Barfnick. A diving stop kept alive. Springer gives way to the Mankato native. Kept alive, and there it is. All tied up here at 2. As that was a heck of a rally between these two teams. As that's not the first time that we've seen that here in this match here today. As Janzig's back to serve. Dug out here. And the finesse touch. As Barfnick goes back to serve. And another service error. As that's number 4 here for the Cougars to Minnesota State's 1. As both of the freshmen come out, Porter and Olsen come in. That was the first time the freshmen have started a set. And Miss Scott with authority yet again as Quam tries to keep it alive. But that results in a 3-all tie here. And that is out as both referees look to the side. And they come to an agreement. And that agreement is they give the point here to Sioux Falls. Hits the net. Well, dug out by Sheeman. Kept alive. And there it is. A kill from Miss Olsen. She pulls the Mavericks within 1. Garby, as she's back to serve, she seems to be the one that Mankato, the Minnesota State, has relied on the most here for serves. As every time it seems like she's came to serve, Minnesota State's momentum kind of shifts into their favor. As might have jinxed that a little bit, but Porter tries to keep it alive, but just goes straight to the ground. Lexi Scott. And the touch from Lee. And there it is. The long reach from Olsen proves to be too much right there as she sends it back. And here's Quam. And they're singling for the net here as it looked to be just wide, but Minnesota State hits the net, which results in a point here for Sioux Falls. Here's the net again. And a miss hit by Janzig, which goes over the net and gives Sioux Falls some time with the kill. As Krista Gorger, Mankato native, back there. And Olsen again, having herself one heck of a set here in set number 3. As she's got Minnesota State on the board, well, for 3 points. The freshman Lowry. Jensen kept alive by Minnesota State in the dive. Neither Lowry or Quam can come up with it. And that results in a point. Jakic. Tipped at the net. Kept alive. Quam with the dive. And as we keep on going here, Sheeman with the touch, trying to end it, but that was unsuccessful. And there it is. As Minnesota State finally wins that rally, as a little bit of an error, as Michaela Rockman tries to save it, but was unsuccessful. Sheeman, the server, as it hits the net, allows Rockman to go to her knees to save the ball. Lowry with the set. Garber kept alive on the right side. And the touch by Rockman allows it to be a point as Lexi Scott comes back in the game and takes place of Abby Fireessen. Cassandra Springer, 5'10" junior out of Altoona, Wisconsin. And she hits it into the net. as that's the third one for this set for Sioux Falls. And that was a little bit of an unforced error as Lexi Scott just tries to hit it back in. She was at a weird angle, tried her best, but was unsuccessful as it comes up short. And Minnesota State pulls within one. As she sets up MAVRIK. And there we go. As Rockman is having herself a whale of a set as well. And what's unusual from the first two sets is, for some reason, Sioux Falls has not been serving the ball well, as they've hit the net 6 times and it had 3 service errors, which is particularly unusual as they only had 3 combined even before this set, which is quite unusual. And there it is, as Lee and Olsen are in there to try to block it. But with the deflection off Lee, it goes left and nobody was there for Minnesota State. Lee. And there it is. This Lexi Scott is having herself quite an afternoon here in the Bresnan Arena. MAVRIK keeps it alive. Zekic tries for the kill, but hits it right into the net. And here's Garby. And there's the first service error for Minnesota State here in this third set. As we sit here, as the blocks have changed, Miss Ashton Lee has taken over the lead for Minnesota State as she's got 3 and 2. This one, as Olsen comes up with the kill. And tacks on another one here for Minnesota State. As Quam is back here trying to figure things out here for Minnesota State in this third one as they drop the last set. As Minnesota State here hits the net and results in a point for Sioux Falls as they gain the lead back within 3. The largest set lead out of the first 2, and in this one, has been 4 by Minnesota State, and that was last set. And Miss Olsen has something to say about that as she's fired up with that kill. As she's replaced by Lowry and Schindler. And Porter follows Olsen to the bench. As she tries to touch as it hits the net a little bit. And the Cougars cannot put it back over the net, as it allows Minnesota State to pull within 1. As Lowry with multiple bounces serves it over the net. Rockman tries to touch, but that's a no-go. There's another block here by Sioux Falls. And a block attempt by Sheeman, and Janzig comes up with nothing. As Barfik hits it into the hands, the arms, and that results in a point for Sioux Falls. And that is wide by Sheeman, and puts the Cougars up 3. And then timeout, Minnesota State. And a little bit surprising here, as Sioux Falls has a 3-point lead here midway through this third set. And it's a little bit surprising that they've had 3 service errors in this set alone. We think that'd be quite surprising, and Minnesota State just has not capitalized as soon as they get the ball back to serve. As we go in and check in here on other volleyball stats, as University of Minnesota Crookston is already over and done with, as Crookston takes care of University of Mary 3-0. Upper Iowa is in the third set, up 2-0 against Augustana. But in St. Cloud, that's a little bit of a different story, is like it is here. It's tied in that third set, St. Cloud State versus Moorhead. As Avery Jakic look to continue the stretch here for Sioux Falls. And that is in. Sheeman won't allow it either. Minnesota State, it seems like their magic number is 3. Whenever they see that they're down 3 points, they won't allow it to go up to 4. She has a little bit of a soft serve. And Barfik tries a little bit of a touch. Double hits, and that is nothing. Minnesota State pulls within 1. The junior out of Des Moines, Iowa is back to serve. And Barfik get blocked. Well, it was hit so hard, basically almost goes up into the rafters. And it goes out of bounds to the left. Results in a point for Sioux Falls. As Garby looks for it, and it's blocked. Schindler tries to touch, Springer comes up and saves it. And there it is. As Miss Lexi Scott had other plans for that rally. As Springer gives it a signal, runs up and hits it. The freshman Schindler, and that's in. As Minnesota State is looking to try to gain some momentum back on their side, as they haven't really had it since early in that second set. As they were up 11-7, Coach McCartney calls a timeout, and that's when everything kind of changed. As Sioux Falls hasn't looked back from that point, and they're just continuing to build up the lead. As it's late here in the third set, Miss Scott's serve hits the net but still goes over. Schindler, but there's enough space in between the net and the blockers that it stays on the side of Sioux Falls and drops. As Porter comes back into the game, she's getting ready to serve. She goes 2 bounces and she's ready. Dug out by Springer. And saved, but hit the pole by Olsen. Allows Sioux Falls to win that one. And there it is. A block by Miss Lexi Scott results in a point. And timeout, Minnesota State. That is your second of this set. As we are updating you on other scores for the NSIC, as we look around here for the football scores, Winona State and Minnesota State, the score still remains 21-14 early in that fourth quarter. And as we look at Sioux Falls and Augustana, since I last checked, Augustana has only kicked a field goal. So the score is 37-13 in favor of Sioux Falls over Augustana. And as we look in here in the third set, it's tied at 12 between St. Cloud State and Moorhead. As St. Cloud State looks to improve their conference record to 6-1. But Moorhead is trying to improve to 5-2 and make sure that St. Cloud State has that same interconference record. As we look here, as the hitting percentage for MSU has dropped tremendously here in this third set, and Sioux Falls has increased. Sioux Falls is up 4. Olsen trying to do that, but that was dug out. And there it is. But they're saying it was out of bounds. And there's the largest lead of any set. And it goes to Sioux Falls here late in the third. As Sioux Falls is up 5 in Minnesota State. The family section is trying to cheer their Mavericks here to a third set victory. That was hit so hard off a Springer. It goes out, chased down by Barfik, but she can come up short. As Garby's back to serve, looking to make things interesting here late to give Mavericks some momentum. As blocked but kept alive. And the touch. And the hit. And nothing there as it falls short. And here we go again. For the second set in a row, here's set point for Sioux Falls. As Scott goes from left to right. Soft serve. Retrieved by Minnesota State. Quam to Porter to Olsen. Olsen with the kill, and that's it. As it's 24-20. And Quam's back now to see what she can do. As we look at the points here through 3, Sioux Falls is outscoring Minnesota State 60-53. And to win this set, you got to win by 2. As a miscommunication, as that's not the way that Minnesota State wanted to drop that third set. As the third set goes to Sioux Falls and they take a 2-1 lead here this afternoon. As we recap the first 3 sets, Minnesota State took the first set 26-24. The second set goes to Sioux Falls 25-23. And this third one was the biggest margin of set victory, goes to Sioux Falls 25-20. As we will be back here in about a minute with the third set stats. welcome back to Bresnan Arena for the fourth set. As we look here, as the third set, 0 lead changes, as Sioux Falls basically took that set and they handled it with some class, and they took it with some fashion. As there was only 3 ties, but that was really early. And then the timeout by McCartney allowed the Cougars to regain that lead. As we're looking ahead here for Minnesota State, the Mavericks will travel for a pair of conference matchups next weekend when they go to Moorhead, Minnesota, Friday, September 28th at 6 p.m. to take on the Dragons. And then the next day at 6 p.m., the 29th, they travel to Aberdeen, South Dakota, and they will face Northern State. As that opening set point goes in favor of Minnesota State. As we're looking here at other conference games, Upper Iowa University in Augustana just ended, as Upper Iowa annihilated them 3-0. And that is set in stone, as St. Cloud and Moorhead are still in that third set, 1-1. And Concordia, St. Paul, and Southwest Minnesota State are still 0-0. As Point Mavericks, as it seems like there's been some life sparked into this arena as the Mavericks take a 3-0 lead. And there it is again. 4-0. As McCartney's gonna say, hey, we've had enough of this. Momentum is swinging, and here's the family section cheering on their Minnesota State Mavericks. As we look here in football, Minnesota State University has taken the lead on Winona State University 24-21 with 10:26 to go in the fourth quarter. As that's a back and forth game as Minnesota State. As we look around here for volleyball scores, as Northern State and University of Minnesota Duluth have not quite started their game yet, and the pregame for Winona State and Wayne State is just underway. As we're back here is Sheeman, and Sheeman is given the life here serving for Minnesota State. As she gives a signal. And Jakic, blocked by Schindler and Janzik. And there it is. The first point for the set by Barfnik. And that puts Sioux Falls on the board. As Quam keeps the serve. Schindler tries to do something with it, but nothing. And there it is. Barfnik comes in again and sets in stone. As they climb within 2, as Minnesota State tries to look to get the point from this serve. Garby running up with authority, blocked by Fire Essen. That results in a 1-point deficit. As it's 4-3 in favor of the Mavericks. Schindler kept alive. Barfnig. There it is. Into the arms of Olsen. And Garby. Well, that goes wide and drops. As Avery Jakic did the same thing to what Sheeman did for the Mavericks here in this first set, as the miscommunication between Lowry and Sheeman allows Sioux Sioux Falls to regain to get the lead here early in this fourth set. As Quam was a little too close to Sheeman, but Quam comes up with it. Garby hits it over. Garby with the kill. Tie ball game. As it's 5-all. Oh, my mistake. They said that was wide. So it's 6-5. So excuse me, 6-4. As this is the longest that anybody has served in this game. 6 straight points. And the touch pass by Barfnick. And here's Garby. Blocked. The line on the MSU side. Garby tries again. Touch pass. And there it is for Fire Essen. And she's right in front of there again. And there it is. Timeout Minnesota State. As Sioux Falls takes a 7-4 lead in the timeout by Minnesota State. We'll look here at the points. Barfnick is leading all players with 18.5, but Olivia Garby is only at 18, so she's close by. We go back, look at the kills, and Barfnick and Garby are basically even. I mean, my goodness, they're basically matching each other point for point and kill for kill. As Barfnick is leading their team with 17, Rockman and Scott come in with 11. Dana Schindler, the freshman, has got 7 kills for the Mavericks. Morgan Olson is right there in second on the team with 13. But she's third among all players, as Olivia Garby is second with 16. As Avery Yakic, Olson hits the net. And we got an injured Maverick down there, as Janzig comes up limping. As she's not putting any weight on that left ankle, she's going to have to come out of the game. And for that, we'll see number 8, Kaylee Peter, the 6'2" freshman out of Carroll, Iowa. As Janzig looks like she's in quite a bit of pain over there on the Maverick sideline. As Yakic continues to serve here for the Cougars. And it's dead silent here. You can hear a pin drop as the refs are still trying to figure this thing out. They're looking at each other, and here we go. Lowry sets up Schindler. Schindler's is long. As that's wide, and it goes to 9 straight points for Sioux Falls, as momentum is gravely in their favor. Here's Schindler again, kept alive by Springer, and hit by the net. And there it is. They finally killed a 9-point streak, as MSU gets a point back up on the board. Miss Peter with her first serve of the afternoon. Here's Garby. There it is. 2 consecutive points for the Mavericks, and the crowd's getting into it a little bit. As the Mavericks are down 3, and the bench from Minnesota State is getting into it a little bit. And here it is. as Peter goes down to a knee, but cannot quite save it to her left. Results on the point. It's a 10-6 lead here for Sioux Falls. Here's Springer. Hits the net, and a diving stop goes over, but results in a point for Sioux Falls. As Springer waits as there's a ball that was rolled back out onto the court. Springer gives a signal. There we go. Hits it right at Quam. And Lee Springer keeps it alive. Schindler's is blocked, and it's in. Blocked by number 11, Lexi Scott. She's having herself a whale of a game. And there it is. Timeout, Minnesota State. As we go and check in here on the St. Cloud Moorhead game. And Moorhead won that third set, so Moorhead is beating St. Cloud 2-1 as they're looking to go into that fourth set. And as we check in on the other MAVRIK games here, as the football team is still up by 3. As the Warriors try to seek redemption in this rivalry game, with Minnesota State going from 1 to number 2, as they're a little upset about that, as they feel like they should be that number 1 team. But they continue their season as they are in Winona. And may I remind you, next week, homecoming, Minnesota State will be hosting St. Cloud for football, and that will be at Blakesley Stadium at 2 p.m. As we also have Hall of Fame induction that year too. As we go back to the action, Rockman gets a point back and gets a serve back to Sioux Falls as they're up 13-6. And there it is, hit by Quam. As Quam and Sheeman were communicating on that play, well, it was a little too late as Quam reacted too quickly as that one was headed for out of bounds. Here's Springer. There it is. Quam holds up. There's the point. The Mavericks just try to trip away 1 point at a time to this 7-point deficit. As Porter checks back into the game for the freshman Lowry. Michaela Porter, the 5'7" sophomore out of Aubrey, Texas. But she'll have to get used to this climate here up in Minnesota. And there's Lee with a point in favor of the Mavericks. And there it is. Jakic can't get it as it goes wide left. And there it is. As Michaela Porter continues just to keep chipping away here as the fans get excited about a t-shirt toss. Here's Porter to Olsen. Blocked. Kept alive by Garby. Garby's looking, and that's blocked again. Porter the set for Garby. Garby hits it long. Springer keeps it alive. Blocked by Lee. The soft touch from Sioux Falls. And Garby finishes that rally. Pulls Minnesota State within 4. As Coach McCartney looks to settle down his group of ladies as he doesn't like what he's been seeing, as it's a 4-point swing here for Minnesota State. It is out, as he just updated it, as I'm looking at it. It's tied at 3 in that fourth set. As St. Cloud is ready to serve. And the attack errors is, wow, that's unlike St. Cloud State, as they have 32 attack errors to Minnesota State University Moorhead 16. There we go. Point. Sioux Falls, as they are 10 points away from taking this set and the match. As the kills here are in favor of 58-48 in favor of Sioux Falls. Kept alive by Barfnick. Porter to Olsen. Off of Springer. And that goes out of the back court. As they're within 4. As we go here to assists and serving aces. Assists. Sioux Falls has got 8 more than Mankato, 54-46. As Garvey falls to the court, Quam just decides to hit it back over. With authority, Miss Scott. As she puts her team up 5. And the digs, Minnesota State has had to do a lot of it. As they're getting close, and it's 47-39. Total blocks is in favor of Sioux Falls as they get a point here to extend their lead by 6. Solo blocks is in favor of 7-5, and blocking errors is tied at 2. As a hitting percentage for Minnesota State is at 23% compared to Sioux Falls' 32.6%. As it plays at the net, and there's a soft serve as they jump too early on the side of Sioux Falls. As we see it blocked here by Sioux Falls and by Miss Lexi Scott. And here's a substitution in as Janzig enters back in as she left the game earlier with a little bit of an ankle problem. Lexi Scott from Princeburg, Minnesota. And there it is, the deflection. Goes wide as Quam was moving to her right, but it goes left. And it's a 6-point lead here for Sioux Falls, as it's looking like the same thing as Minnesota State for last night. As they took that first set, but dropped the next 3. But Ms. Janzig says, hold up, wait a minute. We ain't done here. As we want to show what we got as the 2 freshmen come back in. Lauren Lowry with the serve. Tipped back over by Schindler. And there's Schindler again. Right back into the net, and it falls. Nice set there by the freshman Dana Schindler. As Sheeman hits it into the net. Little miss hit by Sheeman. And gives Sioux Falls back a 5-point lead. Gorger, the Mankato native, back to serve for Sioux Falls. As Sheeman hits it off her right forearm and deflects right and out of bounds. And Gorger hits it into the net, and that's another service error here for Sioux Falls. As we look here, as Haley Shimon goes back to serve. And that's out. A little long from Sioux Falls. Point Mavericks as they pull within 4. As the score is 20-16 late here in this fourth set. And then if set does go 5, we will have a 3-minute break and then come back. And it'll be the first of 15. But Sioux Falls has the determination and the mindset of ending it right here in this fourth set as they're up 5. And Jakic, the sophomore, is back as Rockman was in on that play and puts him up 6. Lowry with the set to Garber. Garby. Lowry, Garby again. And that time the front line of Sioux Falls cannot come up. There's Rockman. Here's Schindler. And Schindler does a little touch. And it results in a point for Minnesota State. As a junior Janzig is back to serve for Minnesota State. Sliding on her knees, Springer to keep it alive. Over and out. As Sioux Falls is 2 points away from taking this match here in Breslin Arena in Mankato, Minnesota. And here's Garby, the block and Quam. As here's match point for Sioux Falls. As the key contributors here for Sioux Falls today have been Springer, Scott, Jakic, and Rockman. And Fire rested up there in the front. As Minnesota State is not quite over. As substitutions here, as both freshmen Lowry and Schindler come out, brings in Olsen and Porter. 2 bounces and for Porter and over. As out, and they're saying it wasn't touched. As some fans on my left kind of disagree. And here's Porter again. And tipped. Here's Porter and Olsen. Olsen in. Minnesota State's not going down quietly here in this fourth set. As they're hanging on by a thread. As they're looking to try to tie this set up. As Sioux Falls there. And there it is. Sioux Falls takes it 3-1 here in Mankato. As that final set, just like the third set, ends in 25-20. As Minnesota State gets back in action next week for Friday and Saturday night games, both at 6 p.m. This Friday night game is against Moorhead. And the Saturday night game is in Aberdeen, South Dakota versus Northern State. Minnesota State here falls to 10-5 with a conference record of 3-4. As Sioux Falls improves to 9-6 and a 4-3 conference record. And I'd like to thank you, fans, for tuning in here on the MBN MAVRIK Broadcasting Network. I'm Brian Kelly. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.